back to you with another one from the old back porch on vacation. So, the past couple days I've read a few articles, watched a couple YouTube videos on a perceived truck driver shortage. And it's like Mythbusters right now regarding the truck driver shortage. Is it real, or is it just perceived, or is it just stated? So I want to weigh in on this because it seems like on both sides of the situation you got folks talking about the same thing but choosing sides to a situation. And here's how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Comment if I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong, you have some sort of, difference of opinion or whatever, throw a comment below. But this is just kind of what I see going on. Started with the Owner-Operators Independent Drivers Association. It seems to have started there. Well, in a way, yeah. Owner-Operators Independent Drivers Association put basically a statement out, and I'm going to summarize it. According to the articles I've read, they basically put a statement out saying that the truck driver shortage is only perceived, or it is simply just being pushed out there as information. And their evidence is because of the amount of new CDL holders annually, the amount of CDLs that are being reinstated annually, and over a certain amount of years, this is how many CDL holders that you should expect, and because of that number outweighing the driver shortage and forecasted driver shortage, then clearly there's no driver shortage. There's no truck driver shortage. I hear what they're saying. Totally hear what they're saying. They also said maybe we should be focused on, here's the key a little bit, maybe we should be focused on recruitment and retention rather than just saying that there's a driver shortage. Well, once I read that, that's when I thought to myself, well, that doesn't make sense. If I need to focus on recruitment and retention, doesn't that mean that there are available seats, right? That would almost prove the point that there is some sort of driver shortage, right? I think there's a truck driver shortage, except here's why I believe there is even a debate in existence. It is the difference between kinetic and potential energy. Kinetic energy is the energy that one has from basically the result of being, right? Being, existing, being in motion, some folks may say. And then potential energy is the type of energy that one could have, right? So you could say my kinetic energy would be 5 miles an hour if I sprinted or something of that nature, or jogged. I don't know. It's either a jog or a good run at least. And then, my, I said, you could say my kinetic energy is if I was running. His kinetic energy is this because he's in motion, he's running. Or my potential energy, because I'm sitting down right now, you could say his potential energy is X, 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour, but he's not running right now. Seems the difference is that the Owner-Operators Independent Drivers Association is saying there is a shortage, but only in potential energy, right? In potential driver, but only in kinetic drivers, rather, is what they're saying. So you got one side saying we have the drivers, we have the potential energy, but that energy is not in motion. And then you have the others that are basically saying we have a driver shortage because there's not the kinetic energy, right? I'm going to explain it one more time. Owner-Operators Independent Drivers Association is saying if there be a shortage, it is only in kinetic energy, right? There's a shortage in kinetic energy, but there is an abundance in potential energy. And then you have the other side. They're saying there is a shortage in kinetic energy, but not in potential because there are plenty license holders. There's potential. They're just not on the road, kinetic. And then you have the other side that's saying there is a driver shortage. It's in kinetic, right? But they're not focused on potential. So the only difference is you have one side that's focused on potential energy. That's why they're saying we need another thing they said was, well, we need parking spots, the reason, I guess they're saying the reason we have difficulty with recruitment and retention is because of parking spots. Well, if you think folks are quitting because of parking spots, number one, I don't know if that's a I don't know if that's a strong argument. Like, or maybe you just got people who just don't need to work. But I'm not in the position to quit my job because I can't find a parking spot. Okay, I'm gonna just find a parking spot. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, granted, I've only been in the industry a little over a year. I get that, but I don't know. I just don't see like droves of people not driving simply because they can't find a parking spot. All right, so nevertheless, you got them saying things, Owner Operators Independent Driver Association, you got them saying things such as, well, parking, and the parking situation is dire, don't get me wrong, especially on the eastern portion of America, and in many places on the West Coast. In the center, it's not so bad. But I get that argument, but I'm just saying we're all talking about the same thing here. Okay? When people are speaking of the driver shortage, they're talking about people sitting in seats. All right? They're not talking about the potential of putting people in seats. Even if you wanted to say that, well, there's a potential. What's the percentage of the population that could potentially receive a CDL license? Well, there's potential there too, right? I get it. The CDL holders, there's a larger amount of proven potential, but you get what I'm saying. We could talk about potential all day, but at the end of the day, what is practically happening for us in the trucking industry is that they're not people sitting in seats, right? We just had they had some sort of convention here. I know it was posted in some Prime groups. Nevertheless, it was like the head of Knight, Rob Lowe from Prime. A couple different carriers were represented in this specific meeting. I don't know what you'd call it, roundtable discussion. And Kevin Knight, who's the chairman of the board for Knight Swift Transportation, he says he credits the driver shortage for getting rates to where they should be and cautioned fleets to seek higher returns on their capital rather than adding capacity. He also stated that this article also states, with motor carriers struggling to expand the driver pool, the prospects of self-driving trucks are growing brighter. What I'm getting at is that they are talking about a kinetic shortage, a practical shortage. They're not talking about the potential of, what could be. They're talking about what is actually happening, and there's actually a shortage in the seats at these companies, right? Second thing, you hear, I wouldn't say week in and week out, but I don't know, it feels like at least once a month, Prime drivers are hearing that Prime has to reject hauling tens of thousands of loads. Tens of thousands of loads were offered and we couldn't haul it. Well, that clearly means, if we had more people in seats, we could have hauled at least 20% of that, tens of thousands. I think last week or week before it was somewhere a little above 15,000 loads, maybe. I feel like that was the figure. Nevertheless, talking about a lot of freight here. Okay, I could see if we only rejected 1,100 or something, but 10,000, 15,000, 16,000 seems like a lot of freight. If there wasn't a shortage at all, a not potential shortage, but if there wasn't an actual practical kinetic shortage, then that freight would be hauled. So, I believe that's what's really going on here, okay? We don't need to choose sides about whether, is the government lying to us? Is so-and-so lying to us? Dude, it's not even that big of a deal, okay? Are there CDL holders out there? Yeah, there's potential, but they're still not seated. So at the end of the day, the freight's not being moved, right? There are people who deal with, what's actually happening, and then there are people who say, well, you could put seats in if you did this, if you did that. My dad would say, we could what if all day long. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Right? So I think that's what's going on. Are there things that could be improved in the industry? Absolutely. Parking? Absolutely. Pay, I feel like even as a company driver, I made more than at my previous job. So I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just one of those people that's grateful for the increase. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like I was killing myself. I'm an OTR driver. I expect to be OTR. So that just is what it is. But could pay increase? Sure. Across the industry? Sure. Maybe. I don't, whatever, man. I'm comfortable right now, dude. I'm not tripping on that. But like I said, could parking increase drastically? Could there be federal legislation that awards grants to states or even a private organization that you know, creates parking? Absolutely. Is that a wonderful idea? Absolutely. Do I wish it would happen? Absolutely. Do I think that's the reason for the driver shortage? I got to slow down when we say that. I just don't see it. Somebody who wants to drive is going to drive. I think there's been a parking situation going on for quite some time now, you know what I mean? And there's been a said driver shortage for quite some time. So that's all I'm saying. Kinetic versus potential, okay? Seems like Owner-Operators Independent Driver Association is talking about potential energy. So while they're talking about recruitment and retention, if you're talking about recruitment and retention, you are implying that there are empty seats that need to be filled and kept. Okay? You got folks talking about they're rejecting tens of thousands of loads and they're a mega carrier. I mean, something ain't right. Is there a truck shortage? Yeah, we could go on and on. All I'm saying is difference between kinetic and potential. I'm pretty certain there's a driver shortage. Pretty certain there's a driver shortage. You got all these companies talking about it. Yeah. Pretty certain there's a driver shortage. All right. That's just my opinion, though. You know what I'm saying? If you got an opinion, I'm sure we got some people out here with an opinion. Go ahead, drop it. I'm checking out because sitting in the sun is getting a little bit hot. I love y'all. Find you somebody to love. Don't forget, it is not about what you believe. It's why you believe it. Live.